Okay, so here's a video that's going to start you off looking at the bronze block 1 from the Bronze Academy. Very simple, just to get you into the idea of creating the parts, creating sketches and creating simple extrusion. So this is one we're going to make. Simple cuboid. How are we going to do that? First thing you need to do when you get your Inventor open, so it's Autodesk Inventor Professional 2020, if you type that into your start menu, the whole thing, or at least up as far as Autodesk Inventor 2020, you will get it coming up. It should have a big eye icon. If you haven't got that, then you've got the wrong file. So when you get this screen here, you're going to start off by hitting this new, so it's like a blank sheet of paper, new, and you are going to have to make sure that you select the right template from which to build the file. So it should look something like this. What you need to make sure here, you may have that looking like this, it's got the ENUS folder. If you expand that little triangle arrow thing there and select the metric option, you have all these that are in millimeters, which is what we want. And you're going to need to select here under part at the top, not assembly or drawing, part, standard mm, so that's a millimeter version, and click create. So you'll need to do that every time you start a new file, otherwise you'll end up in inches. So we've got blank space. First thing we want to do then, if I just look at this file here, we want to draw a shape that we're going to pull this from. If I show you what I did here, look, I started off by drawing a sketch. So everything starts off as a sketch, as a shape, a two-dimensional shape, and then we can pull it into 3D. So let's start by going to Start New Sketch. So Start 2D Sketch. I'm going to click on the top part of the button, not the bottom part. That gives me other options which I don't want. So the top part of the button. Now it's saying where do I want to draw that sketch. If we look at the view cube, we've got a front, a right and a top. Let's draw it on what would kind of be the floor. So let's hit that plane there. It's going to spin round and we can now draw a shape. We want to draw a rectangle, and the rectangle for the bronze is going to be 60 long and 40 wide for the bottom. So each of the little squares is 10 mil. So I'm going to get my rectangle tool. I'm going to click once right in the center of the page here on the little dot. It's going to make life easier if I do that. Now I'm going to click once with my mouse and I'm going to move. I'm not holding the button, I've just clicked it once and I'm now moving the mouse away. And you can see I've got rectangle and I've got numbers. Those are the sizes. So what I can do now is I can type in my sizes. Don't press the delete key, don't do anything other than just press the number. So I'm going to type 40. You can see it's replaced what was there with a 40. Now I need to press the tab button to jump it across to the other dimension. Tab button is on the left hand side of the keyboard. It's got two arrows that face opposite directions. On my keyboard it's above the caps lock. If I touch that, you can see it's jumped across to the other one, and I'm going to make that 60. So just type 6 and 0. So if I press tab and tab, I'm just going to zoom out a bit so you can see what's going on. There we go, there it is. There's my rectangle. If I press tab, I can jump between, so if I got the wrong size. Okay, once we've got that, press the enter key, and it's going to create that rectangle, and it's going to create it with those two dimensions in place. If you've made a mistake and the dimensions aren't there, we've still got the rectangle tool highlighted, so if you press escape, or if we right click and press OK, that finishes that. So if I've got that wrong, I can click on it, on the number, and I can change that to something else. And if it wasn't there, then I can add it by going up here to dimension, clicking on that line just once, moving the mouse away somewhere up here and clicking again, and then I can make that 60. So ideally you create them when you create the rectangle, but if you haven't managed to, then you can use that tool there. So that's our shape. Once we've finished the sketch, we've finished what we wanted to do on the profile, we need to finish the sketch and exit. So if you're thinking, how do I do the next bit? There's a big green tick. We've done that, and that takes us back into the kind of 3D world. So I've got a profile. Now I need to extrude. That's this box here. It's going to pull it up. Okay, so we can select that. It's going to pick up that square already. We just need to tell it how far, and that's this number here. So we want to go up 50. So just type in 50. It pops up, and I can press OK. And that is my bronze block 1. What you need to do now is to save it using that button there in your S3 Techie or S3 Graphics folder that you will have created. So save it there, call it bronze 1, and then you can have a look at bronze number 2. Okay, so you've done the bronze one, which is very simple, just a sketch and a single extrusion. Here's bronze number 2, which is essentially the same, but we've got this bit cut out. So this is the same size, but we've got this bit removed from it. So how are we going to do that? Well, same as before, we need to create a new part with a blank sheet of paper, make sure it's metric, standard millimeter, and press create. So we're now in our part space. All our parts are going to start life as a sketch. So first thing, start 2D sketch. Where do we draw the sketch? I'm going to draw it on the kind of floor sort of plane. So checking up here, that's the top, that's the front. So this would be the kind of ground. So I can click there. Now I'm in my sketch world. I've got my sketch tools. So the bottom of this rectangle is going to be the same as before. So I'm going to click once in the very center point there, and I'm moving my mouse. I'm not dragging my mouse, I'm just clicked once and move the mouse. Now I can put the sizes in. So again, it's going to be 40, so type 40, tab key, that's going to be 60, and then I'm going to hit enter. If you want to zoom in and out, you can use the scroll wheel on the mouse, and if you want to move the sort of the drawing or the element around the page, then if you push the middle button down, you can pan things around. So I've got my sizes. I'm just going to right click and press OK, or I could press escape. So I've got rid of my rectangle tool. There we go, I've got my 2 sizes. If they're wrong, I can click on them, change them, and if I have missed one off, I haven't got it, then I can go to the dimension tool and I can add it onto that line, like so. So there's my profile for the base shape. Finish sketch. I'm going to extrude that shape now, and I'm going to come up 50, and there is my main shape. So what I need to do now is to remove this section here. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to do that in exactly the same way as I created this shape here. I'm going to draw a sketch, and I'm going to extrude it, but instead of extruding a new shape or adding a shape, I'm going to subtract the shape from it. So start off with a sketch again. Where am I going to draw the sketch? It's asking where to draw the sketch, so I could draw it on any one of these surfaces. I'm going to draw it on this one here, but I could do the same, create the same shape by drawing a sketch on any of these two either. But let's go for the side. I'm back in my sketch world again. I've got a rectangle tool. Now this is going to start right from that corner, because I want to take out a shape here. So if you get your tool and you hover over that top corner, you see it's actually snapped to it. I want to make sure it has done that, and then I'm going to come out and put my sizes in. So again, I've just clicked once and moved the mouse, and I'm going to type 30, I'm going to type the tab key, and I'm going to type 20. Okay, that's all I need. So now I can finish the sketch. And what I want to do here is subtract this bit all the way across. So again, it's just an extrude. It's actually picked up that profile. Now what we've got here is extrude add. Okay, so it's adding it on, sticking out. It calls it join, we call it add. What we want to do is subtract. They call it cut. Subtract, take it away. So if I hit that one, you'll see it automatically changes the direction. If for some reason it doesn't, you can do that here. So that's obviously not going to work because it's not going to take anything away, but you can change the direction using these buttons here, and 50 is fine. We can leave it at 50 because it goes all the way through. So there is our second block. One thing, just to double check what might happen or what can happen, I'm just going to delete that for a minute and do that one again, because I can imagine some of you may end up doing this. We'll create a sketch, we'll go onto that surface, we'll get a rectangle, and we're going to miss that corner just fractionally, so you don't notice maybe that you have, and we're going to do the 30 and we're going to do the 20. Okay, and then we're going to go through here and we're going to extrude and we're going to subtract. Now what you can see is obviously because that rectangle that I drew on the sketch wasn't right on the corner, it's not taken the whole thing out. So what do we do? Well, we can go back and we can edit it. So I can find here the extrusion it's talking about, and in fact the sketch that we're talking about. So it's sketch 3, so I can find that by expanding these little signs, plus signs. So it's not that one, it's this one here. If I right click, I can edit the sketch, and what I need to do is I need to get that corner to touch this corner up here, and the easiest way to do it is to use this constraint here. So what that's going to do is take one point and it's going to stick it on top of another point. So if I hit that one and then come up here to this corner, you can see a very faint yellow little circle is appearing. If I do that, it's going to jump to it, finish sketch, and this will update, and because the sketch is now in the right place, it's taken that block away. So hopefully you better use that video just to complete your second block, and hopefully you're getting the idea of going into a sketch, drawing a shape, finishing sketch, use the extrude tool. Right, let's see where that takes us next. Okay, so we're now on to block number 3, which is a little bit different in that this time we've got an added shape coming out, an extrude add coming out the side, and the overall shape is a little bit different. So how are we going to model this? Now I'm going to model this by first creating this block that's behind, this bigger one, and then I'm going to model this one sticking out the side. So let's start again. New, metric, standard millimeter part, create, and this time let's draw a sketch. Now I'm going to draw that big block. I can draw it on the floor again, or this time I'm actually going to do it on this plane here, so on the front plane. And if I'm doing it on the front plane, I'm going to draw a square. So clicking on the center, click once and move, type in 60 tab 50. Is that the right way around? Looks like. Okay, so zoom out a minute. So I'm happy with that. Press enter. Again, if I've done it wrong, I can change the dimensions using that tool up here. That's all I need for now. I'm going to finish the sketch and I'm going to extrude. Now some of you might have been tempted, it's going to be extruded 20 this time, to draw the other shape. So this shape here, you may have drawn it in that part of that same sketch. If I do that, then I'm going to, when I extrude this, I'm going to end up with either a block missing out. Well, there isn't a block missing out, it's a solid shape. Or I'm going to end up with some other problem. Try and separate things out into the different parts they're made up of. So the first part being this here. So the next one, another 2D sketch on the front. We're going to use the same corner rectangle, and this time we're going to catch that bottom corner, make sure it snaps to the green bit, and then we're going to pop it on here, and it's going to be 30 tab 20 enter. That's my sketch. So this now bit is going to be coming out, finish sketch, and let's extrude that by 20, which is already popped up because it's the last size we used. Okay, so there's bronze block number 3. Next thing, bronze 4 is basically the same, except here, rather than catching our corner, what we need to do, in fact, if I just delete that one, for bronze number 4, we need to have a sketch that is here. Our sketch for this shape is not in the corner. It's a different spot. It's the same size. No, it's not. It's 40. Tab 40 and by 20. But this gap here should be 1. Shouldn't it? Should be 10 mil, because this is 60 and that's 40. So how do I make that 10 mil from the edge? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this line here, the side of my rectangle, and I'm going to come down and I'm going to select the little yellow center square. If I haven't got that there, I can select the edge of my of the block that's behind, so it's gone red. So either of those, I can select them, and then if I come down here, I can position my dimension. Once I click it, it pops up, and I can change the number to 10. So that now is the finished shape for block number 4. If I just add that extrusion on here, there's block number 4. Okay, ready for something a little bit different. On bronze 5, we have got a block that has got a hole right through the centre of it. So I'm going to show you a slightly different way of building a sketch. It makes this really simple to model. So as before, new part, make sure it's a standard metric version, create. Once we're in that, we're going to draw a sketch, and we're going to go for the front side again. And I'm going to draw that the front elevation. Now, what we want is a rectangle. Previously, we have used a 2-point rectangle. What I'd like you to try this time is, if you hit this little drop-down button, 2-point center rectangle. What that means is if I click on the center here, rather than that being a corner, that becomes the center of my rectangle. So I can drag it out, look, and you can see I'm creating a square. So if I need that to be 60 by 60, so type 60, tab 60, enter, and I've got a square that is centered about this point here. Why is that significant? Well, the next thing I need is another square that is also centered about the rectangle, that is 40 by 40. And if I finish that sketch, you can see that that ring is what I need to create the 3D shape here. So rather than creating it on two different sketches, this time, because it goes right through, I can just select that part, not the middle, but that part of my profile, and I can extrude that 30mm. So very quickly, by using that center point rectangle, I've modelled that part in kind of one step really. So that's block 5. I'm going to leave you to do block 6, which is kind of similar, but you'll maybe have to think about where you're going to put the squares. So have a shot at that. Okay, block 6, a bit of a variation on block 5, in that we've got 2 cutouts this time. So how are we going to make that? Well, let's start off with the overall shape. It's a symmetrical part, so let's do it with one of the center point rectangles again, and then we'll look at how we're going to add these 2 squares in. So new part, standard millimeter. We're going to create a sketch, and we're going to do it on the front plane, which is that one. We're going to use a center point rectangle to draw a rectangle that is 60, tab 60, enter. Now what I need is these bits cut out here. So there's several ways I can do it. Let me show you both and you can choose which you do. So if we do the corner point rectangle, we would need to click somewhere up there on that top edge, and we go 20, tab 20. Now you'll notice that it's not in the middle. So although it's locked that top edge, it's not centered. So I need to add a dimension using the dimension tool between that line and that line, and it's going to be 20. And once I've done that, you'll notice it all goes blue and it's locked. So there's one way of doing it. The other way I could do it using the center point rectangle is if I used the this central origin. If I come down from it, it kind of snaps to it. I can then go and create my 20 by 20. And this time what I need to do is to use this constraint tool to lock that to there, and then that is now in the right place. Either of those ways would be fine. Extrude, just select the H shape, make it 30, and there is the block. Okay, so now let's look at bronze 7 blocks. So we're starting with the same basic 60 by 40 by 50 block, but we've cut a corner off it. Several ways to do that. Let's look and see how it can be done. So new part, standard millimeter, create. Let's quickly make our basic block shape. So these are steps that you should now become really familiar with in terms of starting these sketches and creating simple extruded blocks. So we've got our 60 by 50, let's extrude it by 40, and we're done. So there's our block. So I need to cut this top corner off here. Now possibly the most obvious way to do that would be to do it with a sketch. So in the same way that on our previous blocks here we maybe subtracted that shape using a rectangular sketch. If you think about this here, what is making that stop being a square, a rectangle rather, is this triangle. which goes from that corner to a certain distance down here. So what we can do is we can draw a triangle on this end face here. So let's do a sketch on that end face, and we want to draw a triangle. So there's no triangle thing here. There is an option to do polygons and stuff, but we're just going to use the line tool, and we need to make sure that we snap to that top corner. Again, otherwise if we're not there, if we're a bit down here, we're going to leave a bit when we try and extrude subtract. So snap there. I'm going to come along this way first to that corner, then I'm going to come down the way. The reason I'm doing that is because if I come down here, I can actually add in my dimension. So that has dropped it down 30 mil, and now I can go back and I can snap to that point again, and that is going to be create our shape. Just when I did that, if I just go back the way a minute and I put this line on, make sure if you're going to do what I just did that you are in the right direction. So see, it's got it's saying 90 degrees and it's got the little constraint thing there, the little red and black icon. So if I type 30, if I do it when it's over here, it's not going to end up in the right spot. So 30 to there, press enter, and we've got it. And then we can put our next line back on as I had. Finish sketch, and we can extrude, and it's picked up that one, and again we're going to subtract. Now this time the default sort of size isn't what we want, it's less than all the way through, so you can actually hit that button there, it just goes through everything, and there we've got a shape, an extruded part with a slopey edge. So if you were going to do that two sides, you could do the same by drawing two triangles. So bronze block 8, which is our standard shaped block with the corners removed to make it look like a kind of a house. So how's the easiest way of doing that? Let's start with our standard block, 40 by 50 high by 60 long, and we need to remove these two corners here. Now we could do that by drawing a sketch, triangle in the top corner, and extrude subtract to remove those edges. But an easier way is to use the chamfer tool to select those two corners. Make sure you've set that to 20 mil, that's the size we need in this instance, and press OK. Bronze block 9, again we need to remove two corners. So starting with our standard block, 40 by 50 by 60, we could draw a triangle on this surface here in each of the top corners and extrude subtract, but as we've learnt, the quicker way to remove a corner is using the chamfer tool by selecting the edges and setting the size. If we accidentally select the wrong edge, we can deselect that edge by holding the control button down, hovering over the edge. You can see that the line has turned red. If I click this once now, it deselects that edge, and I'm left just with the two that I need. Okay, so bronze 10, similar to kind of the previous few you've done. This time the cut doesn't go all the way through though, so let's have a very quick look. So I've got my basic shape here. I want to draw a triangle on this surface here, so sketch on that surface. I'm going to get my line tool, I'm going to hover over that top corner. I'm going to come in, this time it's 40 along here, so I'm making sure I'm snapped in the right direction, 40 and enter. I'm going to come down here and make sure I pick up that line that's gone red. Don't quite know exactly where it's going to be yet, but there we go. And then I'm going to add one more line between these two there. Now that line there, I need a dimension on this one. Now if you see, if I try and put a dimension on there, it's picking up the whole line as well. So maybe it's easier to go between this top line and this point. So if I hover over that corner, you get that little square, and then move in this direction, that gives me just the length of that line. So I can finish that, I can do extrude, and again I want to subtract. I don't want to go right through, I only want to go 20, so I can hit that, and there's my shape.